Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everyone watching at home, and welcome to today's Ask Eman show live, where we're going to be here with you, brothers and sisters, over the next hour up until 9 o'clock, inshallah, live. So if you have any questions, as usual, give us a call on 0203 515 0769. Otherwise, you can send your questions to our WhatsApp number on 074 2239 8833. So without further ado, I'll be your host for today, and joining us is Shaykh Wasim Kempson. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. How are you today?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. I'm very well. Jazakallah khairan.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. So as we start every show, Shaykh, I'd like to ask you for a short reminder, and then we can get started with our questions from our viewers, inshallah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Indeed, all praise belongs to Allah. And may the peace and blessings of Allah Jalla wa ala be upon His final messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters and viewers at home. So there's a couple of things that I wanted to mention, and something that I just recently heard. It wasn't something I was going to speak about, but it needs to be verified, and I try my best to verify it. It's from an official newspaper. There's no need to mention the newspaper, but it seems that a vast majority of those who have actually passed away, up to possibly a quarter of those who have passed away in the UK with links to the coronavirus, are actually Muslims. So this is something which is very, very serious. People need to do away with conspiracy theories and ideas that this is wherever it's come from. Okay, this is a reality and it is affecting real people, and it is something that we need to take notice of. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us all safe. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep our elderly and those who are vulnerable, to keep them safe, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects them. Ameen. The main thing I wanted to mention actually is obviously social media is almost it is a free-for-all. It has been for a long time, but it is now in overdrive. And every so often you get to see something and you get to listen to something which allows you just to take pause, and everything just continues rushing you by. So you can take, take a pause and just ponder over everything that's happening. And it is known that in azamat, or in difficult times, when there's a calamity, that the reality of people comes out.
Yeah.
Okay, the reality of people comes out. But there is in this a great hikmah. There is a great blessing and there is a great wisdom that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at times will test a certain people for the reality of those people to appear. So for example, when the Prophet ﷺ was going to, in the 9th year after Hijrah, the Prophet was going to meet the Byzantians. Virtually the whole of the Arabian Peninsula had become Muslim. Islam was everywhere, alhamdulillah. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested the Prophet ﷺ and the companions and everyone who's living in Medina, who is going to travel 900 miles, 900 kilometers to meet an enemy which is maybe 20 times their size. Here at this time, many of the munafiqeen who were hidden for many, many years appeared, because they were not prepared to give up their wealth. They were not prepared to give up and make a sacrifice for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in times of calamity, the reality of people appears. Another important thing I want to mention is that during these azamat, or during these calamities or difficulties, is that people believe that they can make, excuse the pun, they can make a quick pound note. They can make a quick buck. Okay? And it is unfortunate that Muslims, especially when you see in light that in general supermarkets, there is no concept of taking advantage of their customers. That the government will has a close eye on how they will treat their customers. So suddenly the water yesterday was £3 and today it's £6. The supermarket is unable to do that.
Yeah.
In fact, the supermarkets and the big main stores and so on and so forth say there's no shortage. Everything is as normal. There's no need for you to hoard and stock. So they have a muraqib. They have somebody who's overlooking their job, overlooking their buying and selling. We as Muslims also have, in fact, on this issue, they're lowering their prices for certain items. They're lowering their prices. There are baskets. There are movements to ensure, to non-Muslims, okay, non-Muslims, to help the elderly, to support the needy and vulnerable in our community. That's not to say that Muslims are doing that, because I've seen myself, certain Muslim groups, mashallah, they're very, very active in doing these things. But what is very sad is that somebody believes that they can take advantage of Muslims, or any person for that matter, at a time of crisis. Not only that person is khasran, that they are a loser. They are a loser in this life, and they will be a loser in the hereafter. The person thinks that they will make a lot of money, that they will gather, mashallah, lots and lots of money, but they don't realize that bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, when this particular test is over, that people will remember you. The people will remember you, that you tried to take advantage of people when people were in most need. So people remember, don't go to this person. They tried to take advantage of people when they were most needy. So there will be no barakah in their wealth. There will be no barakah in their buying and selling. In fact, they don't realize that they are the losers now and in the future, and who knows what they're going to face on Yawm al-Qiyamah. So I would implore as Muslims that we are an example for mankind. That kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat lin-nas ta'muruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhauna 'anil munkari wa tu'minuna billah. That you were the best of nations raised up, commanding the good, forbidding the evil, and believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That at times like this, we should be at the forefront in being an example and not trying to take advantage of your own brethren. Taking advantage of your own brethren and your own family is the most despicable act that I can think of in a time like this, where people's lives are at stake, people's jobs are at stake. Many things are on the line, and to think that people, as a human being, to think that they would do that is quite despicable. And as Muslims, they should be reminded to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا تُرْجَعُونَ فِيهِ إِلَى اللَّهِ. That fear the day that you would return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you have an ounce, a mustard grain's worth of Eman and Taqwa, then treat the people fairly. Treat the people fairly, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you back tenfold. But if you try to deceive the people, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will leave you with nothing. Wallahu alam.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Thank you so much for the reminder. Just a reminder for our brothers and sisters watching at home that the number to call us on is 0203 515 0769. This will bring you right into the studio to ask your questions to our Shaykh today. Otherwise, you have our WhatsApp number on 0203 074 2239 8833, inshallah. So we're going to go to our questions on WhatsApp, Shaykh. Our first question for today is, I need to do my will. I have 3 sons, 2 non-Muslim, so not entitled to inherit. Can I have the 3rd decided between them? I have a mum. Can she inherit too? If I have no surviving children, Yeah.
Okay. It is quite right in what you say, that as Muslims we do not inherit from other faiths, nor vice versa. It is also permitted to give up to maximum 1/3 of your wealth, okay, to be distributed in a way that you see fit. So let's say, for example, you had some non-Muslim family, and you were to pass away, and you was to write in your will that up to 1/3 you wanted to give some of that, it's called in Arabic a wasiyah, to bequeath an amount to them. That would be permissible. That would be permissible. And who knows, maybe this shows, and it will show, the beautiful side of Islam, that even after one passes away, that you can do good to other people, that you do not oppress or treat anyone wrong. And you know, just on this issue, this is everything that Islam stands for, is about being fair and just and giving people their rights. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not give us a deen, did not send the Prophet ﷺ to bring darkness and oppression and to wrong people, but to free them from the shackles and the being consumed in this worldly life, but to bring people, to make them happy, to make them, to allow them to have their rights and to be treated fairly and kindly and mercifully. This is what Islam brings about. And a person who does other than that, you should know that this is not from Islam at all. Wallahu alam.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Thank you so much for your answer. We're going to go now to our next caller of the show. Assalamu alaikum to our caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from? Assalamu alaikum to our caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from London.
Welcome to the show, sister. And your question?
My question is this
One more time.
this sanitizer that we are supposed to be using to clean our hands in these present circumstances, with this virus that's going around.
Yeah.
I want to know, they said today it has got 60% of alcohol in it. Is that okay? Because we pray, we touch the Quran. Is that okay? I know. I don't know, but I just wanted to make sure that is it okay? Could you ask the Shaykh for me, please?
Okay.
Yes, inshallah. Thank you so much for your call, sister. For everyone else watching at home, you can also get in contact to ask your questions by dialing 0203 515 0769. Shaykh, we're going to get back to that question after our break, if that's okay. So for everyone watching at home, stay tuned. After a few minutes, we're going to go for a short break. Once we're back, you're able to give us a call or send us your questions to our WhatsApp number, which is on 074 2239 8833. You can also leave your questions at the comment section of our YouTube and Facebook live stream as well, inshallah. For now, assalamu alaikum. Stay tuned. We'll be back shortly. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to everyone watching at home to today's Ask Eman live show. We're going to be here with you up until 9 p.m. tonight, brothers and sisters. So if you have any questions, we have Imam Wasim Kempson here with us today to answer them for you. So give us a call on 0203 515 0769. Otherwise, you can send your questions to our WhatsApp number on 074 2239 8833. For everyone watching along on YouTube, you can leave your questions at the comment section, and we'll also get to the questions that are there right now as well, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. Welcome back after the break. Now, before we get to the question, Shaykh, tonight is the night of Jumu'ah. Tomorrow is the day of Jumu'ah. In London and across the country, many masajid have closed due to the virus. And a common question is, Shaykh, are we able to pray Jumu'ah at home?
Okay, Bismillah. Now, the question is being asked quite a lot actually, and on this issue it is well known and established that al-Jumu'ah is established in the masajid, in the mosques, masajid, without any difference of opinion. Extended from that, there are some fatwa which ulama were asked, can I establish Jumu'ah, for example, at my workplace, or can I establish the Jumu'ah at a community center where there is no masjid close to us? Can I establish my Jumu'ah there if the number is sufficient? And the ulama have given fatwa, permission for that to occur. If you can't get to the masjid, then you can establish your own Jumu'ah in designated places. Now, because this establishing Jumu'ah outside of the masjid is considered the exception to the rule, okay, and that rulings are given to fatwa concerning the exceptions to the rule, it is very important for us as Muslims not to then just go and find a fatwa and say, right, I'm going to perform Jumu'ah in my house. Okay, there's 5 of us, even with the opinion to say that, 3 is sufficient for Jumu'ah. Let me pray Jumu'ah at my home. It is not allowed for you, number one, to take rulings which have been extracted and understood by the ulama for you to then go shopping, or for you to just take the ruling and extend it to your home. Nobody gave you that permission to do that. It is not allowed for you, number one, to take and implement your own rulings, and number two, have your own understanding. What is upon you is to ask people of knowledge, am I allowed to do this? And those who have asked, may Allah bless them, they have done the correct thing. It is not allowed for you to establish Jumu'ah in your own home, especially in the circumstances that the ulama of the UK, the scholars of the UK, many of the masajid and committees who are well known, I'm not talking about committees and task forces that have suddenly popped up, we don't know who they are and who they are backed by, they are to be put to one side. We're talking about well-known scholars of the UK, or whatever country that you are living in. They have come to a decision, and after, of course, speaking to Muslim doctors concerning this issue, that there is a real and present danger in gatherings coming together. Therefore, the obligation of establishing Jumu'ah is then removed. Closing the masajid is the most suitable thing to do now. That is the ruling, and it's not for you to start establishing Jumu'ah. Can you imagine in populated areas, heavily populated with Muslims, you might have 50 Jumu'ahs in one street. What kind of, this is fawda. This is all over the place. This is not the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where people are establishing 50 Jumu'ahs in one street, okay? Or in a very small locality, a number of streets. So this is not to be done, but rather what you do at home is you pray Salatul Dhuhr at home, 4 rak'at, and as simple as that. Wallahu a'lam.
Thank you, Shaykh. Our next question, I believe it was from our calls. Do you remember the call, Shaykh? We got before the break. Do you remember the question?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, bismillah.
Okay. So this is the call, and she was asking about the sanitizer.
Yeah.
The hand sanitizer, seeing that advice has been given for, and is recommended in the current climate, for people to, regularly wash their hands after you come in from the home, after you've touched things outside, whatever case. Well, one of those ways of washing your hands is using a hand sanitizer. Hand sanitizer, preferably at least content of 60% alcohol. Now, this isn't the alcohol that you drink, okay? This isn't the alcohol that a person's going to put in a glass and become drunk, okay? So therefore, you can remove that. Secondly, it is a type of alcohol which goes through a process which is not something that is a problem for us, okay? For us to use it, okay? There's absolutely, inshallah, no problem in you using that. If, I'm not dismissing, to say that you can't use it, because maybe some of the scholars say, well, it's a type of alcohol which may be najas, which may be impure. I'm not dismissing that. So if a person wants to find a substitute, they want to wash their hands with normal soap, okay, then let them do that. Okay, let them wash their hands with normal soap. But using the sanitizer, according to many of the ulama, is absolutely no problem, inshallah ta'ala. The main thing is that you do wash your hands, and Allah knows best.
Thank you, Shaykh. Jazakallah khair. Our next question is going to be from WhatsApp, and the question is, Assalamu alaikum, what is the best way to get rid of old religious texts? Can we burn them? Also, what about posters or photographs of verses of the Quran that has been displayed on the wall but now have become worn out? What is the correct way of getting rid of these as well?
Okay, so as you, to rid yourself of these things which have Allah's name on it, subhanahu wa ta'ala, or Quran or something like this, then you're permitted to burn it, or you can put it in a shredder. A shredder which will, it won't be in its original form anymore, so it's not considered Quran or anything like that. So you can have a fine shredder, that's also permissible as well, and Allah knows best.
Quran, both Quran or images,
both can be done, inshallah ta'ala. If you can burn it, maybe is probably better. If you can't do that, then maybe you're living in a place that you can't burn something, but using a shredder, inshallah ta'ala, a good shredder is sufficient.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Our next question is, Assalamu alaikum. I usually do my witr prayer just before Fajr. However, sometimes while I'm doing my witr, Fajr prayer kicks in. Would my prayer be valid?
Okay, so there's two scenarios. The first scenario is that the person is persistently praying Salat al-Witr until Fajr comes in. I'd say start 5 minutes earlier, so it doesn't always happen. If it happened on the one occasion, okay, you offered your witr and the adhan for Salat al-Fajr came in, la bats, this counts as your witr, inshallah ta'ala. But to ensure that it is done in its time, you don't have this issue. You're not persistently praying witr and then the adhan comes in. Just, add another few more minutes before you start the witr, so you don't have this issue. Wallahu alam.
Okay, our next question, Shaykh, is, Assalamu alaikum. If you are praying and a cat sits in front of you where you have to do your sujood, what should you do?
Okay, so cats have a very good habit of sitting in places that can be quite bothersome. They're very clever at that, mashallah, whether it's on top of a keyboard, whether it's wherever it is, mashallah. So if they happen to be sitting in the place where you're going to make sujood, as you go down, okay, then you very calmly, very nicely push the cat to one side. That's absolutely fine, inshallah ta'ala.
Okay, thank you, Shaykh. Our next question, yes, we've asked that question. So just a quick reminder before we ask our next question to our brothers and sisters that we're live on Ask Eman. We're going to be here for the next 35 minutes with you to get your questions answered by our Shaykh today authentically according to the Quran and Sunnah as usual. The number to call us on is 0203-515-0769 by phone. Otherwise, you can use our WhatsApp number, which is 074-2239-8833 to send us your questions via WhatsApp, or you can use the same number to call us from outside of the UK by phone, and we can connect you to the line as well, inshallah. For everyone else, if you're watching along on YouTube or Facebook, you're able to leave your questions at the comment section, inshallah. So, Shaykh, our next question is, Assalamu alaikum, how can you deal with depression and anxiety during these hard times?
So for whoever's feeling particularly stressed and anxious at this time, first and foremost, you shouldn't feel as though that you're the only person feeling like that, okay? It is quite normal and acceptable to feel a little anxious and a little afraid to some extent about what is happening in the future. We don't know. Allahu alam. How to remove that or how to combat that is to call upon the one who is testing us with this particular issue, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what is happening now is by Allah Jalla wa Ala's decree. So we go back to the one who is testing us. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us thabat, to remain steadfast, to call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and remember, ala bi dhikrillah tatma'innul qulub, that by the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the heart will find tranquility. So the closer you are to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more you, inshallah ta'ala, Allah azza wa jalla will give you perspective and context of what is happening. This is not the first, if you want to call it a calamity or test that has happened to mankind. Many of those have occurred to people in our own lifetime. So there are places on earth that are going through similar tests in a sense, not necessarily an illness, or maybe even with an illness and other things added to that. Okay? So having an illness and a lack of provisions. So they have nowhere to go. They don't know where their next meal is. For us, we are many, unfortunately, there are many who are hoarding and stocking up and stockpiling and whatnot. They seem to know where their next meal is going to come from. There are people who have this, illnesses and don't have any food. So remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who provides, is the one who gives shifa. So rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not all is lost. Not all is lost. Remain firm in your deen, put your trust and rely on Allah Jalla wa ala, and I'm sure that you will find some solace in that, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Thank you so much for your answer. That brings us to the end of this part of our show. We're going to take a short break for a few minutes, as usual, brothers and sisters, and then we'll be back to continue our show after that. Once we're back, we're going to be here for another 30 minutes up until 9 o'clock, inshallah. So when we're back, if you have any questions, pick up the phone, dial 0203 515 0769, and you can ask your questions, inshallah. For now, assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to today's Ask Eman show, where we're going to be here live with you, brothers and sisters, over the next 30 minutes, inshallah. So if you'd like to give us a call and ask your questions, dial 0203 515 0769 to ask your questions to our Shaykh today, Imam Wasim Kempson. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. Welcome back after the break.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khair. Okay, so our next question, Shaykh, is going to be, is this virus a punishment? This question is from YouTube.
Subhanallah. I'll be honest with you, it's impossible to say. Whatever affliction happens to a people, you know, when there was a drought and there were difficult times at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, people were going to say this was a punishment from Allah Jalla wa Ala, and the Prophet ﷺ was there. So there are occasions where, yes, there may be a punishment, but there are also occasions when Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala tests the people to raise them levels. So getting into the discussion, this is indeed because of our sins, this is a punishment from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, it's a discussion that cannot reach a result, an absolute result, to say exactly this is 100% this is what it is. But you can look at it from a different way actually, in that in any calamity, in any test, the reaction of the people, how individuals will react, it could be that you failed the test. It could be that you failed the test, meaning that in times of difficulty we should turn back to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Okay, we should return to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala in istighfar, giving charity, helping one another, and taking our ibadah to another level. A person who shies away from that, then no doubt this is something that we can say that person failed that test, wallahu alam. But a person who in that difficult time turned back to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, it was a mercy for them. It is a reminder to them, a reminder for them to return back to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So this test itself, maybe because in the past, maybe some of their sins, but turned in the end to be a mercy for them. Okay, so the discussion as to why things happen, it's difficult for us with absolute certainty to say one way or the other. However, what happens in the future now, inshallah ta'ala, is something that partially is within your own hands, how you're going to react to that. Whether it is something that you will try your best to get through, turn back to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, or rely on yourself and turn away from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Okay, so this is something that for sure we can look at in looking forward. Looking back, Allahu A'lam, no one is free from sin. Everybody's going to sin. So maybe there's an element of that, and Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. But going forward, we must try to be positive. We must try to come together as a community, as, if I can say, as a nation. Because, the UK is an island. And where we were previously living in times where there are pockets of society which can be quite selfish. There are pockets and areas of the community which are very much, not united in any way, shape or form. In fact, there's lots of hatred, there's lots of bias, lots of these diseases reside in the hearts of many, many people. And it is unfortunate that in these difficult times that people are really showing these diseases that were maybe hiding in their hearts. But on the other hand, we see the great actions of certain communities coming together, putting out notices to help the elderly, to come and help your neighbors. In fact, this is a great opportunity for Muslims to really reach out to their neighbors. You maybe had an elderly, I'm not talking about the person who literally lives next door to you. It might be an elderly neighbor that lives quite a few doors down, maybe in the next street, but you know where they live, and you put something through them, through their letterbox to say, I'm your neighbor, I'm here to help, to set up a Facebook group of your local street, okay, and ask people to join it, okay, so that you can be sure that you know who you're dealing with. These little initiatives can be helped. You use social media in a positive way, not just to, to fling around and share nonsense. Make a group of your local community, how you can help one another. Okay, if there's a time that we need to come together as a people, as a human race, this is one of them. Okay, it is not based upon religion, it is based upon humanity for people to come and help one another. Issues like this, viruses and so on, doesn't distinguish between whether you're a Muslim or non-Muslim or Christian or a Jew or a Hindu, but it doesn't matter who you are. It afflicts everybody. And that, because this is the case, we should deal with it as a people together. And Allah knows best.
Thank you, Shaykh. Jazakallah khair. Our next question, Shaykh, is Assalamu alaikum. Is it permissible to photograph nature and edit the photograph?
Yeah, so I see possible the reason why. Is this me changing the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So you photographing, number one, photographing nature, trees. Always when you talk about nature, the first thing that comes into your mind is trees, isn't it? But whatever kind of you're taking the picture of, as long as it doesn't have souls in it, then it's allowed for you to do that, okay? And there may be, let's say for example, in the distance, a little, you want to just, blot it out, just to, to make the picture even nicer. La bats. There's no problem you doing that, especially with those people who are involved in, design and things like that, to alter the picture to make it, to beautify it somewhat. This is not you attempting to make something more beautiful than what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created. This is of course not your intention, and this is not the goal either. Because to be honest with you, if you was to remove that little thing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more capable, as you well know, of creating anything He likes, which is more beautiful than that. So there's not an issue in altering and changing the picture, as it were. And Allah is blessed.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Our next question is Assalamu alaikum. Two questions. What is the best way to ask forgiveness for any fard prayers ever missed? And number two, is life insurance allowed in Islam?
Right, number one, life insurance is not permitted. Qawlan wahid. One statement, life insurance is not permissible. Insurance is a type of transaction which the contract between the two parties is invalid, is not allowed. Okay? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy. Number two, which was the first question concerning, sorry?
Number two is concerning life insurance.
No, I've answered that. Sorry, the one before that, I should say.
Oh, sorry. What's the best way to ask forgiveness for any fard prayers? Yeah.
So if a person in the past missed out prayers in a time of jahiliyyah, in a time of ignorance and whatnot, then the ulama have different views upon how to make that up, or how to repent for that. Because it seems to be done at a time where there was no salah. If there was no salah, then from the time now is to make a strong determination never to fall into that state again, to ask Allah Jalla wa Ala simply to forgive you, to overlook your shortcomings in the past, okay, and to do extra good deeds. Okay, that time for you offering that salah is essentially gone now. So giving charity, offering nafil prayers, some night prayers, fasting, offering as many good deeds as you can, showing your humility in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, humbleness in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best way, inshallah ta'ala, being sincere and asking Allah Jalla wa Ala alone to overlook the mistakes that you had in the past. Wallahu ta'ala alam.
Thank you, Shaykh. Our next question is Assalamu alaikum. I am 28 years old and wish to start seeking knowledge, but I feel like maybe I am a bit too old to start. Any advice?
Yeah, I mean, 28?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I can give you examples that many of the companions radiallahu anhu were more than 28 when they embraced Islam and became the greatest scholars of Islam. But maybe that's something which is a bit abstract for you. To give you something more practical, okay? There were many examples of this day and age now, okay? There is no set age where you can, start and stop, seeking knowledge. Whether it's online, whether it is with a teacher, you go to the masjid. Of course, maybe not at the moment because they're closed. But at the time, inshallah ta'ala, when it is, the situation has improved somewhat, you can go find a teacher to learn Quran, recite the Quran correctly. Take things at a pace which is good for you. Don't think that you have to start sprinting to catch up with all the years that you may have missed out on. Okay, just be consistent. That's what I'd say. Whatever kind of program you have on a weekly basis, depending on how much you work or family responsibilities you have, just try to be consistent in that what you are learning, and that way you will find, inshallah ta'ala, there's an achievement with regards to your learning. The problem that many brothers and sisters that they have is at the very beginning, because learning knowledge is a marathon, that they want to start sprinting. And then after, if you're running a marathon which is 26 point something miles, if you start sprinting, depending on how fit you are, you'll get tired very quickly, and you'll end up start walking, then you think, oh, I'm never going to finish this, and you end up stopping it. So be consistent. If it just means one lesson a week, start with that. And then if you want to build upon that, then do so. But I would say is the most important thing is, after of course being sincere to Allah Azza wa Jal, making dua, is to be consistent and to refer to the people of knowledge concerning your learning. Wallahu a'lam.
Thank you, Shaykh. We're going to go to our next caller of the show now. Assalamu alaikum to our caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Aisha and I'm calling from Birmingham.
So I'm Staisha, and your question for us today?
My name is Aisha and I'm calling from Birmingham.
Okay, welcome to the show and your question?
Thank you. You know, sometimes when you play Isha and you play Salatul Witr, then you go to bed, and then later on you decided to get up and pray Salatul Tahajjud. I don't think you will have to replay your Salatul Witr again. Is it just okay to pray the Tahajjud and go to bed? That's one. The other side is like, most times you said, okay, I'm going to pray Tahajjud, so therefore I'm not praying Witr now. And by the time you do so, you probably miss the Tahajjud as well as the Witr. So I don't know how to balance that.
Okay, sister, stay on the line. We're just going to take our break now for a few minutes. And then when we're back, stay on the line. When we're back, we're going to put your question forward to our Shaykh, inshallah. And we'll also take all the other calls that are waiting as well from everyone watching. So thank you for watching along, brothers and sisters. Stay tuned for a few minutes. We'll be back shortly. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everyone watching at home, and welcome back to today's Ask Eman show. We're back for the last part of our live show right now. So we're going to go, Assalamu alaikum Shaykh, welcome back after the break. We're going to go straight to our sister that we were talking to on the phone, if she's still on the line. Okay, I was told the sister's gone. If we could ask...
I got a question.
You got the question, Shaykh, yeah?
I got a question.
All right, so before we move on to our next caller, we're going to address that question for our sister that was on the line, and then we'll move on, inshallah.
Okay, very quickly, barakallahu fiki, sister, very good question. That there are times when she prays her salat al-witr straight after salat al-isha. And then later in the night, she wakes up. She wants to pray tahajjud, mashaAllah. Now, when you've prayed your witr early in the night, okay, and then you pray tahajjud, you do not pray witr again. Okay, there's no two witrs in one night. Two odds would make an even, okay, so that means that you've not prayed any witr prayer. So if you prayed witr earlier, you don't pray again. Now, if you intend to pray later, meaning that after Salat al-Isha you don't pray your witr and you want to pray your night prayer later, but you sleep over, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for your intention, okay? But maybe you set your alarm, maybe more than one alarm, or go to bed a little bit earlier to ensure, inshallah ta'ala, you wake up. Okay, so then when you do wake up, then you pray your tahajjud, your night prayer, and then you can pray witr after that, and Allah knows best.
Okay, Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. We're going to go to our next caller of the show now. Assalamu alaikum to our caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to yourself, the Shaykh, your program makers, the viewers. May Allah bless you all, reward you. I have a question regarding one of the criteria for Jannah, where the Prophet ﷺ said, want for your brother what you want for yourself. Now, I heard this is such a stringent criteria in order to attain paradise. I would like the Shaykh, Wasim Kempson, to perhaps elaborate on that. And also just a little add-on, perhaps. Perhaps if he could also point out perhaps some places on the internet when you were talking about knowledge to learn Arabic, to go to perhaps some suggestions or whatever, without promoting anyone, I guess, but something like that is very good schools and things like that. But I'm going to say we love you. Thank you very much. Allah bless you all. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair, brother. Thank you so much for your questions. We're going to move on to our next caller. Assalamu alaikum to our caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, assalamu alaikum. My name is Shaykh. I'm calling from London.
MashaAllah. Welcome to the show, brother. And your question?
My question is, actually, I'm asking this question on behalf of a brother. He works for the NHS and he's been asked to shave his beard because a part of his work is he has to work quite closely with coronavirus patients, and the mask he's been asked to wear is only effective if he's clean shaven.
Yeah.
So my question is it permissible in this case for him to shave his beard?
Okay. Do you have any other questions for us today?
Oh, yes, one more. Recently, they proposed this new bill that's come out today by Boris Johnson, and one thing that I heard was mentioned was that they have the right to not release the bodies. I don't know if I've understood this correctly. Not release the bodies to respective families and for them to be buried by the government themselves. What would happen with regards to janazah in this case? Is it permissible for janazah not to take place?
Okay. Thank you so much for your call, brother. Stay tuned and our Shaykh will answer your questions shortly, inshallah. So, all right. So we're going to get started with our questions from our brother who called first and asked in the context of criteria for Jannah is wanting for your brother what you want for yourself. How do we understand this, Shaykh?
So on this issue, I know that there is a hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه, that none of you truly believes until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself. This is a sound hadith. As for the Jannah, the paradise issue, I don't know anything about that. Allah knows best. There may be something, but I just don't know. Allah knows best. This hadith that I did mention is to do with that your Eman, your faith will not be complete until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. So therefore, in all practical terms, this means that if there is something that is you desire, that you would like, that you would rather put and give that to your brother or give that to your sister over your own self. So you're willing to make that sacrifice so that somebody else has it over your own self. Okay, so this is this is a very high level of Iman that not everybody will achieve, but we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to be from those people. Allahumma ameen.
Okay, Ameen. Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Our next question from the brother also was, do you have any advice in terms of where to learn Arabic online?
Yeah. So what I would say is that learning a language is not something, especially if you're later in your age and whatnot, it's not something that's going to happen over a period of a couple of weeks. Okay, it takes a bit of dedication. It takes some time. And a person who has a strong enough desire to do that will achieve that bi'idhnillah ta'ala. Okay, so there are many online platforms. There are many institutes I'm sure that you can try to attend. If you can't attend in person, then there's lots of course, as I mentioned, online opportunities for you to learn Arabic, but try to be as consistent as you can. And see it as, not something that you may grasp in a couple of weeks or even a couple of months. I do know people here in the UK never travelled and never stayed in an Arab country for any long extended period of time, but mashallah, the Arabic is very, very good. They have a very good knowledge of the Arabic language. ذَلِكَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِهِ مَنْ يَشَاءُ. This is a grace and blessing that Allah Azza wa Jal gives to whom He wills. So make dua to Allah Azza wa Jal and want to learn it for the right reasons, and I'm sure that Allah Azza wa Jal will facilitate that for you bi'idhnillah.
Thank you, Shaykh. Our next question is about the brother who works for the NHS and regarding his beard. Yes.
So this issue, there's lots of issues, okay, which some are true and some are not. I can't comment on this because I don't know. Okay, I don't know about this issue whether the NHS are actually asking Muslim doctors. I've not heard this. I had a question earlier that there were doctors saying that the bodies who pass away from this have to be cremated. You can't bury them. This is not true. This is not true. It's not true. They're not saying that at all.
All right.
So I have to be very careful as to where this information is from. As for this particular issue, I'm unable to comment on it because I don't know anything about it. Wallahu a'lam.
Thank you, Shaykh. Last question from our calls. Yes, actually, you mentioned that. So we're going to move on now to our questions from WhatsApp. Actually, we have a caller on the line, I've been told. So assalamu alaikum to our caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To yourself and Shaykh Wasim Kempson.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Please forgive me if this question was asked earlier. I missed the earlier part of the show.
Yeah.
Regarding, obviously, tomorrow's closures of the mosques, there is a valid udhr now that you can't go to the mosque. So what is recommended from the Shaykh for myself at home to lead my family and pray Salatul Jum'ah or Salatul Zuhr? And quickly, the second part is Dua Qanut al-Nazila. Can that be performed in any salah? And is there any evidence that it was performed in Salatul Jumu'ah as well or not?
Okay. Jayed. Okay. We mentioned earlier that because of the current situation, the closing of the masajid, that the scholars have mentioned that you should pray Salatul Dhuhr in your homes, not Salatul Jumu'ah. Okay? This is the first question. The second question with regard to Qanut al-Nazila, that on occasions where there was a calamity that had befallen the Muslims, that the Prophet ﷺ would make dua in some prayers. Now, I should mention Qunut al-Nazila. What do we mean by that? That means, that you will raise your hands in the salah and beseech Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's forgiveness and help with regards to a particular calamity that may have befallen the Muslims or the community at large. Now, this is authentic. This is something that the Prophet ﷺ did on occasions, especially at the Fajr time. It has been narrated that the person would do this at Fajr time. As for the quiet prayers, I should say, Salat Dhuhr and Asr, there's a difference of opinion amongst the scholars whether a person the Imam, would raise their hands and then start saying the dua out loud in the quiet prayers. Based upon the evidences that we know, it's done in the loud, the prayers that are said out loudly, and that is, for example, Fajr, Maghrib or Isha, and not dhuhr or asr. As there is, if the masjid is close to you, that there is no Jum'ah, then there is no qunut nazila in that. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is best, because there's no Jum'ah tomorrow for those who are not praying the Jum'ah. As for those who are, then they will have to refer to their own evidences and look at that, and Allah is best.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Thank you so much. Our next question is, if my daughter fasts for me while I am sick, will it still count? She is 10 years. Will Allah give me the fasts that she had done for me?
Okay, so it is not allowed for somebody to fast on your behalf while you're there present with them. Okay, so if your 10-year-old daughter is fasting, the fasting will be for her alone. Okay, it's not for you. You can't fast and then give it to somebody. The individual ibadah is for the person themselves. Okay, so may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for you and fast when you can. Wallahu a'lam.
Thank you, Shaykh. This brings us to the end of our show. Jazakallah khair for joining us today, Shaykh Wasim. Thank you so much to everyone who's watched along today, everyone who's called, and everyone who's sent their questions via email or WhatsApp or our comment section on our social media. So until tomorrow, we'll be back at the same time. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.